heads in Colorado I'm aware of. I've identified it right down at the old Navarre across from the Brown Palace every summer and winter solstice, June the 21st and December the 22nd. Every year I got people that have spotted them down there. I've tried to get Occupy movement, everybody else down there with video cameras and catch them going down through the Ship's Tavern in the Brown Palace Hotel and going across the street to the old Navarre, okay, which is an old whorehouse casino that they're doing it in every year. People don't believe it. They can't understand it. And, you know, as we were saying earlier, what we ask of God eventually transfers down here to us on the planet. We have to ask Him for that power and authority to make the change. And if enough people were praying against these evil and to destroy this evil, I keep having a joke with God. Why can't I cast George Bush Sr. off of my friggin' planet and put him in hell? He just doesn't die for some reason. That's my joke. You know, we can't cast them off the planet. We can cast them out of our existence and away from us. But they're here for a purpose, and that's the testing ground that we're supposed to be going through. But we can make change through prayer.
Now I've got an asshole on here that comes. He's being paid $400 a month to come on and harass me. He likes to call
20-mile-an-hour ADL stooges.
Yes, ADL stooge.
Working for the crime
he is
the FBI, CIA, or ATF, huh?
Yes, he just said, "Oh, Brother Clay, and I'm not your fucking brother, you asshole." He likes to quote from the protocols, but they're widely proven to be a forgery. And I've said, anytime you mention the protocols, you got a Jewish asshole that stands up and says that. And guess what? They wrote that, somebody wrote that over 200 years ago. So they're dead now. And so it really doesn't matter who wrote it. And what's a forgery, by the way, Stuart? Oh, yeah, it's an exact copy of the original. They've had this plan for the New World Order for over 200 years. They found it, and they printed it, and they've been denying it ever since. It's like, you know, when you go into the rabbi, if you try to attend a Jewish church, somebody will get up and say, "Are there any strangers in here?" They will make you leave because they don't want you, if the rabbi is going to recite the Kol Nidri, because they don't want you to know what a satanic religion, what a satanic document this Talmud is. And it's even got Satan written on the latest cover of the Talmud.
It's part of what's being taught. And you know, it's being taught in these Christian churches as well. I mean, like I said yesterday, that Hagee and some of these someone needs to put duct tape on them, put them in handcuffs, drag them out of the pulpit, say we're going to replace you, stooge. You're not going to be here anymore. You're not going to teach this crap that you're teaching. That is this Judeo-Christian belief. No more of it. You're being fed a big carrot. That isn't what it's about. Okay, it's these Pharisees, and you're correct. It's this fake Jewish identity that's these Khazarians that are out of Russia initially. Remember where it comes back to. They killed Christ, okay? They were in the pulpit, supposedly in the pulpit at the Hedron at the time, okay? And they got Christ's death ordered, okay, because he claimed to be God. Oh, no, he did this, he did that, you know. Let's go back and look at everything in general and bring it to the reality of today. Unless people, we have a tremendous of this population that doesn't believe in God, they don't believe in the devil, they don't even believe in anything. And we are at a day and an hour where we can see a lot of tracks of the end times here and now. And people could change things. I'm a firm believer in prayer, and I'm a firm believer in the delay of the end times. I'm a firm believer that we can turn it around through prayer. But we have to do it in the physical form as well. God doesn't want us to be a bunch of wimps and on our hands and knees and asking Him to do it all. He then expects you to listen to Him and what the Holy Spirit tells you to do, and then react upon that information that He's feeding in your ear and your brain and through your spirit. He expects you to act upon that. And there's so many people that ignore those words that is that God or is that the devil talking to me? because they don't know, because they're not close enough. Okay? I don't know where everybody else is, but I hear him on occasion. He tells me to do something, I do it.
I said, Jesus told us that you can do what I do and more. Jesus tried to tell you that we have a direct link with God. God is inside us, and you can call it a conscience. You can call it your soul. You can call it whatever you want, but you do have a direct link. And we do have a lot more power than they have. We have as much or more power than they have. They got the money because they print it all. And your founding fathers warned you about it. We made a mistake 100 years ago. Guess what? The charter on the Federal Reserve ends this year, 2013.
Yep, and they'll renew it. They'll renew it just like they have renewed the charter. The agreement with the aliens, the 1954 to 2012 agreement, that they could have a base here in Area 51, known as Papoose Lake, not Groom Lake, but Papoose Lake, where George Bush used to fly in there, and his pilot was Harry Rupp, a personal friend of mine that's in Defrauding America, mentioned in that book, along with myself and others. He used to fly in there. I mean, I had a scientist, Ed Slade, that worked out, their personal friend. They tried to kill him. And they killed 6 of the other scientists that all worked with him all in 6 months. Put this guy in cerebral hemorrhage, caused him a heart attack. Everything else, a stroke. He was in a coma for over 2 years. He gets out of it. He got his memory back. And him and I had many, many talks. I talked to him up until he murdered him last October, a year ago this past October.
He went down in those big doors that open up so they can land the UFOs and so they can land the helicopters inside that Groom Lake.
No, it wasn't Groom Lake. It's Papoose Lake. It's called Papoose Lake, Nevada. It's southeast or southwest of Groom Lake. Groom Lake, I'm aware of because I can't even think of his name right offhand. It's early. John Lear, my friend, out in Vegas. Matter of fact, John and I did a radio show about 911, no airplanes hitting the towers, in his affidavit here a while back. But John Lear used to fly all kinds of stuff at Area 51, Groom Lake. It isn't Groom Lake, it's Papoose Lake, Nevada, which is where the alien base is. You know, Area 51 is used for a lot of things. A lot of major defense contractor corporations use that as test sites for various things, including E-Systems of Dallas, Texas, that was involved in dropping the towers on 911 that used their death ray, they call it. They're based out of Dallas, but they've got their death ray at Area 51, and that's what hit those towers and disintegrated those towers. And they blew a nuke off on the 80th floor, I'm aware of, and of course weakened the whole towers and the whole bit with all the bombs that went off on the place. But that Area 51 toy they had up there that they bounced off that satellite is what caused that towers to disintegrate on that day.
Now, speaking of that, I want to add that there were pictures of the oil rig down there in the Gulf with a hole punched right through the helicopter landing pad. That oil rig was hit with a laser beam, and they developed that laser beam right across the street from me. I even got a tour of it. It was a joint Israeli-American project at White Sands Missile Range, and it was called the Airborne Laser Project. And they bragged about it. They had an observatory. I felt fairly comfortable being so near to it because there was a mountain in between us. But they bragged about it. They said, we can hit the O in God on a dime in the hands of a running man at 50 miles. That's what brought the space shuttle down right over White Sands Missile Range. They were saying on the news, well, it couldn't have been a terrorist attack because there's no weapon powerful enough to do that. Well, it was there. It was right below the shuttle when it blew up.
You know, there's a lot of interesting things. Can you give me 30 seconds to grab a cup of coffee?
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. Okay. Go right ahead. Go right ahead. Now, my guest today is Sew Webb. And, folks, We are fighting a battle. I'm struggling to keep this going. I'm trying to keep, don't spend a lot of money on gas. Don't spend a lot of money on booze. Don't spend a lot of money on nothing except keeping this radio show going and this television show going. So if you want, yes, sir. Go ahead, Stu. You back?
Well, I'm here. Where do you want to touch now? On weapons or what?
Well, I first of all, what they are doing here, they are getting ready. They're going to try to take the guns. All of this thing, Sandy Hook. You mentioned the children. The Waco is what got me started. I said, by God, I can't sit back and watch something like that happen again.
I was in a jail cell at the time as a political prisoner, and I kept saying, man, if I were around, I would have took a whole group of people down there and shot the son of a bitches for doing that. Posse Comitatus Act said you can't do that.
That's right. But they killed 17 children there. They killed 19 children at the federal building in Oklahoma, and they killed how many? 20 some odd at Columbine, and then we got Sandy Hook, and we don't know whether there was anybody even killed there. That was a Jewish community. There, the school was set up. A lot of the film that you saw on television was from another school, not Sandy Hook. And of course, they predicted the Sandy Hook and the Aurora, Colorado, in the Batman movie.
There's a lot of truth to that. Up on my website under SewWebb.com in the left column, Mike Harris and Gordon Duff both hit it right on the head. There's fantastic video of Israeli troops speaking Yiddish right there at that Sandy Hook situation. They have nailed it down. U.S. intelligence nailed it down that it was Israel retaliating against the United States for allowing the Palestinians to be part of the UN, which the Palestinians said if they become part of the UN, they'll be able to go to international court in The Hague and bring war crime tribunal charges against Bibi Netanyahu and the others in the Likud government for the slaughtering of millions of people in the Middle East. And they're they're doing it now, matter of fact. And it's just like that professor at the University of Illinois, trying to think of his name right off. It's early for me. I was up late last night. He's brought charges against George W. Bush, Cheney, their attorneys, and the whole bit in The Hague. And they got international war crime tribunal, indictments against them for murder, torture, and everything else. And we used to be part of the international court, and it used to be that Interpol could come in and arrest people, and under George W. Bush, he signed an executive order saying it's illegal for international courts to come into the United States, Interpol, and we are part of Interpol, and arrest U.S. citizens because he knew that one day he would be arrested for his crimes that he was doing. So he, signed an order, said you can't do that, we're not part of that crap, and everything else. They can't leave the U.S. and set down on a country with extradition, because if they do now, they're arrested. So their favorite place now is where Neil Bush is, and Daddy Bush goes all the time, which is Paraguay, because there's no extradition treaty throughout the world. And of course, Liechtenstein is another one of them. It's one of their favorite places. But the old German base down there from World War II. But these people, this was the reason for Sandy Hook and these other shootings. And Clayton, back in 1999. I made a videotape. I was on the radio. Hell, you used to put me on way back when you first had your show and stuff. But in 1999, I got a call from a buddy of mine in U.S. intelligence, and he says, Stowe, he says, I think you should know this. He said, they're going to do a bunch of school shootings. He says, coming out of East Systems of Dallas, the guy's dead now, been dead for a couple of years. He said, they're doing some school shootings, and that was right after a Jewish community shot up out there in Los Angeles. And so there.
Yeah, I'm here. What's that noise? Huh?
Coming off what's called BTR host. What's on my screen right? BTR host 1.
Sound like somebody just opened up on your computer with you.
Well, someone's tapped in. I don't know what BTR host 1 is, whether that's a joke, other programs to your screen. That's your house online. I want to come back to that when you get rid of that problem.
I don't know what this is. It's not coming off anything that I've got here. Let me.
I guess the noise sounds like gunshots, making the same. We're going to shoot too much. We're talking too much. Telling too much there.
I don't know where it's coming from. It has to be coming from. It's not. Is it coming from your computer?
I'm seeing it on my screen as a BTR host 1.
I don't know what that is, but call me right back. Call me right back,
Okay.
Stu.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting. No, it's coming from my machine now. Okay. Alright, it is on my machine here, and I don't know why, I don't know where it's coming from.
Clayton, do you see that BTR host 1 on your computer?
No, sir, I don't see that.
Conversation. Why don't we?
What's that?
I don't know whether you can get wrestling.
Alright, I'm going to, hold on, I'm going to stop this recording here. I'm here, but I don't know where that's coming from. It wasn't yours. It was coming from me somewhere here, and I don't.
I'm seeing it as part of this group on my computer screen. Part of this group contact we're in.
Okay. Alright, well, I'm out of time here, Stu. I'll try to figure out what happened. Thank you for being on with me. God bless you.
But real quick, I want to go on YouTube.com, go down and look at FBI Carolyn Parker, to school shootings in 1999. The FBI, the same thing. I hit off the head and telling everybody what's going to happen before it happens.
Alright. Thank you, Stu. I appreciate it. Sew Webb been my guest today. Don't know where the gunshots are coming from, but we're out of here.
Thank you, Clayton.
Wow. Okay, that was on Blog Talk Radio.
Well, there you go. I guess we're still up here.
Somehow we were on Blog Talk Radio. So hang on just a minute here, and we've got. I've got a few more minutes left here. Now that was probably the strangest thing that I've ever had.
Well, that's just Clayton. Let me go back to what I was saying.
Go ahead. We've got 15 more minutes left, or 10 more minutes left on this recording. So go ahead.
Okay, in 1999, I had the source inside of E-Systems, Daddy Bush's Raytheon headquarters, where all the drug trafficking and child trafficking and everything goes on still to today, run by Jeb Bush. Everybody's on the payroll down there, including all the Bush boys, including Margaret Thatcher's son, the former Prime Minister of England. And it's nothing but a one-world government operation. They're the ones that control these Westar satellites, that control the elections through the voting machines, change it and all that through the electronic voting machines with their satellites. And that was proven in the 2006 election because friends of mine inside Interpol knocked 2 of their friggin' satellites out of orbit, changing U.S. elections. But to go back, 1999, I had a source after that first school shooting at the Jewish Community Center there in Los Angeles. The guy, was MK Ultra. He was mind chipped, was sat down in a chair, was ex-military, and they said, oh, we want to make you military intelligence, and then they put him in a chip, or sit him down in a chair, knocked him out, shoved a small chip behind his ear, and he didn't even know what happened to him. And, oh, you don't quite qualify for military intelligence, and later they dismiss him, you know, or discharge him out of the military when his time's up. Well, they had 15,000 of these that they have MK Ultras, they call them. They are chipped. They can set them off with a simple phone call, a phrase that was programmed in their brain during this 2-week period in the chair. And so then the chip is used for to come back and set them off and make them have such brain activity that they want to shoot themselves in the head. They can't stand the pain from the satellite. And this was what it was all about. Well, I made a video about this after this happened. In 1999, I get the first call. Then I'm communicating. I hear, you know, this guy turns himself into Las Vegas. That happens. Then I'm told about it. He said, the party said, he's no longer alive, but he says, there's going to be a shooting in Fort Worth at a Christian community center down there, or a school. So I go on the radio, and that's when, you know, we had big radio shows, and everybody was hooked up on AM, FM. I'm blasting it through a bunch of shows, different ones I was doing, about one a day, and I'm blasting it for about 4 or 5 days in advance, and damn if it didn't happen. Now, before that happened, I went to the FBI in Las Vegas and sat down with this pregnant female agent, and this other agent, told them it was going to happen, and by God, it happened exactly the same day. School shooting, and then the guy shoots himself in the head. They couldn't believe that I brought them that information. Where'd you get it from? I can't tell you. Somebody inside. You know, I'm telling you, it's Daddy Bush. He's doing it. The whole bit. E-systems are controlling them with the satellites. They're controlling them. They're setting them off, the whole 9 yards. So then it happens again. I tell them exactly where it's going to happen. I think there were 7 or 8 events. Clayton, each time it went on, there were like these shootings. I had the inside information. After the 3rd time going to the FBI, they said, we can't talk to you anymore. We can't talk to you. I said, why not? Our bosses have told us we can't talk to you anymore. I said, okay, fine. I kept banging it out on the radio. And the funny part was, this was not funny about any of the shootings. The last one, I was told, because they were tripping up trying to find out who the source was in E-systems, I was told it was going to be a fireman was going to go off, ex-fireman, and it was going to happen in Texas, and it was somebody down in Tennessee. They were trying to find out who their link was inside E-systems. Well, that person's out there. They'll never know who that link was. But I made a videotape about that, and it's up on YouTube.com/Sew Webb, STEWWEBB1, number 1. And it's up on there, and you scroll down, and it says additional at the bottom, and click on it, and it's down in that section. You'll see CIA Terror in America, 1999. I sat down and put it all on a videotape at that time. It's up there on my YouTube channel. So, you know, I've documented this stuff. I've had this kind of information, and I'm quite aware these latest shootings that went on is for gun control. It's for terror in America. It was related to BB Netanyahu and AIPAC in their retaliation, and Millman and Mizell and the Bush boys and Daddy Bush, who controls, who's the mob don here in America that controls your government officials. They're the ones that have done this because, yes, they want our guns. Now, why do they want our guns? Because we outnumber them, and I don't have any of this fear factor of martial law crap. If they want to declare martial law, they're going to use the cops on the street with the militarization they've done with them, and they're not at that point yet. And they've got these drones that they're pumping out at Boeing right now, in case you're unaware of it, Clayton. 2 feet long, sit over you for an entire week, solar operated, gets enough fuel to get off the ground and back to the ground, and they're 2 feet long, remote controlled, right out of their new system that was tied to this new underground base of Bluffdale, Utah. Not only hook up everybody worldwide, know where you're at, everything else through your driver's licenses and chips, but it's also the computers and the communications and everything else. But they have all these massive underground new NSA-based computers, and they're going to be used for those drones. And those drones are being sold, given to the police department, sheriffs, highway patrol, and everybody all around this country. And by the end of this year, they hope to have enough drones, 20-some-odd thousand, these 2-foot-long drones, over you, me, and other people watch us, and then zap, you're done. And they can control, even the police departments that got them up there, have them up there floating over you and monitoring you because they're told Clayton needs to be watched. And they don't even know Area 51 E-Systems boys have the little death ray on there, and they're zapping you while the cops are watching, and the cops don't even know what happened. So that's what their plan is. They plan on zapping everybody and getting rid of you.
One of those drones. I'll tell you what I foresee happening very shortly. Somebody's going to be on a airplane that they don't like, and they're going to put one of those drones right through the engines of that plane.
2 feet long, they can go 65,000, sit above you and sit there and look for your entire house and see the date on the dime in your pocket, and they're watching everything you do and get your pattern down, and they will, the word is, I've heard on this, they want to start exterminating people about mid-year to end of the year. I mean, Clayton, this whole thing's gotten so far out of hand. You know, I've had so many buddies of mine tell me last summer, and I put a video. It was in one of the programs I did with another guy, Glenn Kennedy, and it's talking about how the CIA assassination team run out of these systems again from another source, and that Daddy Bush is behind it, and that they murder for hire scheme, just out murder for hire scheme before the election. Barack Obama had his list. Daddy Bush had his. Romney, the money launderer, drug money launderer, he had his list. And Hillary Clinton had her list. And
by the way, with Romney, let's just mention with Romney, this is what he controls, not only the drug trafficking and the drug money that he launders through his banks in the Cayman Islands, but he also had Mossad working for him and running Clear Channel. So if you're listening to Rush Limbaugh on a Clear Channel, then he ain't telling you the truth.
Well, yeah, Rush Limbaugh has been a stooge of theirs, and remember, Roger Ailes was Daddy Bush, his producer, owner and controller of Limbaugh, was Daddy Bush's aide inside of the White House, who runs Fox News, the Israeli disinformation channel that Leonard Millman, my ex-in-law, the council boy, owned and controlled, financed him.
That's right. Now, George Bush, by the way, I mean, I stumbled onto, when he was CIA director, he was running all the drugs into the country. He was under Operation Watchtower, which is in my book, Mystery Babylon. But he was also there when they assassinated Kennedy, and by the way, my friend Galen Dougherty, I can tell you his name now, we always called him Box. He was sitting on the railroad bridge, 17 years old, sitting on the railroad bridge, and saw the 2 guys in suits with rifles shoot Kennedy. I chewed him out about it. I said, how come you didn't tell me? You know who I am. You know what I do. How come you didn't tell me? He said, I wanted to live.
Let me tell you something. The day that Kennedy got killed, and there's an article up on my website about it, and there's a picture of Bush standing in front of the book depository 6 minutes after the shooting. Well, if you remember, most people don't know it. What I'll do, Clayton, after this show, I will post it when I post the show up on my website in the right column from today's program. I'll put a link to those 2 stories that Tom Flockel did for us, for Tom Hennigan and I. Now, French intelligence gave Tom Hennigan on his birthday, back that year he wrote the story about 4 years ago, he gave him the picture 2 weeks after his birthday as a birthday present to him, because him and I know people in the French government, the French intelligence, and Interpol, other agencies. That was a present to expose Bush. And there was a school teacher that suddenly came up with, quote unquote, a videotape, if you remember, it was about 4 years ago, suddenly released a new Spruder film type video that was on the north side of that Dealey Plaza. I've been there, on the North Street, and he was scanning off as, as the motorcade goes up and then takes a left and goes down and then he gets shot. He's scanning the area within a video camera that's in living color. Only spooks had, intelligence officers had, and this was a French intelligence officer, a school teacher. They intentionally released that video footage. And why did they have that?